3/18/2026, 11:17 p.m. Central Standard Time, Dixon, Illinois. The Lizard Lounge Sound Studio is discussing how time does not exist. This time we're examining light, speed, and motion. Captain Christopher, please continue. Proceed as the idiot you are. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing today. I'm letting myself just be weird. Be an idiot. Be somebody who is just going to say you're wrong. But not without some concessions and not without having some point to what I'm doing. You see, time is an important thing. And that's really been taking up the focus of a lot of my time, is trying to understand time. And you might ask, well, haven't we figured it out? Haven't we? And isn't some other more qualified, better studied, better educated, wild-haired guy already figured this out for you? Christopher, hasn't this happened already? Some people put a lot of their time into figuring out time before you were around in your time to start thinking about time yourself. That's true. That is 100% true. So, why do I still question the existence of time? Because I don't think we understand it yet. I really don't. And here, all right, prefacing some of this stuff, guys. I know it's been figured out in mathematics by other people. To the contrary, I know that the equations exist. I know that people have written their papers in contrary to what I am going to start describing. But I have a point to this. So, I'm wondering how much time and light are connected. How much of light is effective of time and vice versa? Well, we have a few things right off the bat that we know. Light and time can become dilated based on the forces that manipulate them. So, they can both be affected, but even though they're being affected in the same way, space is dilating. But time and light, though being affected by space, are not necessarily affecting each other. Not that I know of. Though you might think that time has to be affecting light in that situation. Because if we manipulate light, if we dilate a photon, then the way it's moving in time, as we measure it, becomes different. Simply put, that photon that is stretching around the accretion disk of that singularity is moving differently than a photon in a vacuum. and we measure a photon's movement by its speed, which is supposed to be a constant and is supposed to be only attainable by light. Now, can light exist without the speed of light? And can the speed of light exist without light? The second one, absolutely. Wait a minute. Light, one of those is correct. Light can absolutely not exist while the speed of light exists. The speed of light is a number. It just so happens that only one thing equals that number. But it doesn't require that physical element that is light to exist. That's an absolute. It must. If things can move near the speed of light, and that threshold by which it cannot pass that speed limit is the speed of light, even if light does not exist, that measurement still does. Okay. Time exists in the exact same state, except it's even less solid. Time doesn't need to exist at all in any capacity whatsoever for us to measure the time of day. Not really. As a fundamental thing that is supposed to make up the universe and makes it possible for the universe to exist, fair enough. If it must be there as a physical thing, then it is there. However, the measurement, the abstract concept of the time of day, will never care what the physical thing that is time is doing. The thing that is physically time can be doing anything it wants, but 12 noon on the globe is always going to be 12 noon. It's always going to measure the same thing. We're going to call it the time of day. We're going to call it time. We're going to measure it as time, but it doesn't care how dilated time is. Fact. Basic truth. That in time, time may not exist. So, let's look at, and this is where I'm going right here and now. This is where I am going full into contrary. I'm going full contrarian here. What if there is some other factor that alters the absolute measurement of the speed of light in relativity, general relativity, a greater relativity? Right now, if we consider the motion that we have affecting light, at its greatest distance, at its greatest dimension, we see that space is expanding, and that is the movement of it. That's it. If we zoom out as far as we can understand things right now, and we look at everything, space is expanding, but that's all the movement we see of the universe. The universe, by our measurements and our understanding, is motionless. It's a fixed point. that everything is spreading out away from. But how can we be certain of that? How can we be certain that the universe is not also moving somewhere, in some direction? There's two things. One that disproves it. And this is it, guys. I'm the contrarian, but I'm acknowledging that in our observation of light and how it moves, we can assume that space is not moving by the way that light moves through the vacuum. It would behave differently as we observe it if the universe was an entity moving through something. That's the standing theory. But the only reason we can't absolutely prove that the universe is stationary, that it exists on a fixed point that doesn't move, is because we can't zoom out far enough to absolutely be sure that there's not another reference point out there that indicates that the universe is in motion. Perspectives, dimensions. Every time we pull back a layer of reality, we find new dimensions, and it's our nature to assume that things can only be measured in larger quantities. Eventually, we assume that if we zoom in to a more extreme enough, that there will be nothing there. And at the same respect, we look at the universe and say the same thing. If we zoom out far enough, there will be nothing there. Now, why does that work? It doesn't. If you zoom in far enough, eventually it should have no space available. It should all be something. There should be something right there. And that should be the end of it. That really should be the way it works. It stops dividing. And if we zoom out, should it stop condensing? But more importantly, as we zoom out, are we certain that there is not another speck of something to be seen? This is kind of the multiverse idea. We live in a time when we are really working on a lot of different things that don't make sense to us. Do you understand the nonsense that I've been rambling on about? Because I know that I don't have a full understanding of all of it. I'm working on it, but I don't have a full understanding of it. Now, first off, I did ask, why don't I just let other people figure this out for me and take their answers? Well, I don't do it that way. I need to understand what I'm being told. So I have to start from the ground and work up. I have to have questions that need answers before I can come to a conclusion And if somebody has already made that conclusion, it is even more important that I am able to find that conclusion myself for that conclusion to have merit to me. And I still have too many questions, and I still have too many aces up my sleeve to support my mantra that time indeed does not exist. And my ultimate trump card is that time can exist in whatever form you want it to, but there is also a point where time will not exist. For example, if our universe is not moving through anything, if it is a fixed point, then time doesn't exist outside of it. How can there be nothing outside of what we're in? If there is nothing out there, how is there anything to stop it from being something, even just open space? The barrier is there a barrier at all? I'm not high. Excuse me on that one. I am not stoned, okay? But the truth of the matter is, I kind of wish I was. Just because then I might have a good excuse for rambling on about this. I listen to a lot of people who know what they're talking about. I observe Dr. Tyson. I recognize his work, and I do listen to him. And as I research it further and further, I seem to be losing ground in the answers I'm getting from people, because I can pinpoint where their conclusions are making sense to me. Now, I question what the absolute speed of light is, because that's important. It's important. It's a number, it's a measurement, and it has to be a proper measurement, or else we're wrong in our equations, and we're figuring out everything else off of a falsity. Now, I don't know if there are multiverses, and I don't believe in these alternate dimension multiverses thing where the next verse over has a duplicate of you who's just living a different life. No, guys, this is ridiculous. This is more ridiculous than the pyramids were built by aliens, okay? No, there's only one me. Trust me. There is only one midnight. If there is other multiverses, then no, we don't repeat, man. It has to be different every single time. We would reach into realities where the fundamental workings of physics may not function the same. The nature of light and time in another universe could be fundamentally different, and that's more likely to be the case than having a duplicate self. So what do we do? Where do we go? Well, we got to get out there and see if there is other verses beyond our own. Get out there as far as we can. You all feel it, man. You all feel that unknown looking down at us from between the stars. That black out there, man. How far does it go? That's the new ocean horizon. Do we loop around and come back to where we are if we go out far enough? Does it just keep going? Is space going to expand at such a rate that we'll never be able to catch up with its expansion, and therefore there will be no barrier? But if that's the case, what is it expanding into? It's beautiful that we have this to look up to, this destination that's truly unknown and truly beyond our sight. We get to chase this, and that's amazing. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as time that's going to prevent us from ever chasing. Okay, so I did this live, and I am not taking it down. I'm going to leave it up, but I'm acknowledging right now, this was an absolute mess. Most of this made no sense, and I know that. But if there's anything you can take away from this, is that time and light share one absolute. They can exist or not exist with the measurements that define them. This has been a rambling bit of nonsense from the Lizard Lounge Sound Studio. Please, be gentle. Maybe even just like it for its effort. Share it for its... I don't even have a verb for this. And mostly just subscribe. We need the numbers. We need these numbers. This is, it's as abstract, you might think, because we can continue doing this, and no one's going to stop us if we don't have more numbers in the subscriber count. But it's a real count that we can verify, because we know that these subscribers are actual real people that we could verify without having to enter another alternate dimension or zooming out far enough to see if there is another dimension which they exist in. So that's an absolute, and we can work with that number. And remember, time indeed does not exist.